Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, June 1st. Yeah. I don't usually do videos on Sunday, but I just sent out my report. And the topic I wanted to talk about, or the thing I wanted to talk about, is I think that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is starting to win me over. I have to say that. I saw his interview. I didn't watch the show. I think he was on CBS Sunday Morning, that program today, but I saw clips of his interview on X. And I think the guy is starting to win me over. Like, one thing I like about this guy, he doesn't seem, when he's attacked with all these, economic tropes, these stupid stories about, the debt and we're going to default and all this kind of crap, he doesn't go on the defensive. Like a lot of these people, they immediately go on the defensive. They're like, yeah, but it's not that bad and we're going to bring it down and okay? And the world still has confidence and there's, all this kind of crap. He didn't do that. He was being interviewed by Margaret Brennan, this, journalist, and I use the word loosely, but you know how these TV people are. I mean, they don't understand economics. How do you expect them anyway to understand economics when even the economics profession, the actual profession, from academics all the way through to how it is, practiced in the economy, the private sector, they don't understand it. So how do you expect the media and these stupid journalists to understand it? They're morons, they're idiots, and they just keep repeating these same stupid tropes about economics. But he pushed back and he shut her down. Like, when she started to talk about the U.S. Becoming insolvent, he's like, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Now, I wish he would have went further with that because he said, we're on the warning track. We're getting close to the wall, but we're not going to hit the wall. That to me was a little silly, a little stupid. He just should have said, look, it's never going to happen because the U.S., all of its liabilities are denominated in its own currency, which it issues. It's just never going to happen. But at least he said flat out, he didn't get all defensive and he's just like, that's never going to happen. He shut her down. And then he said something because Jamie Dimon last week, Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase said, the bond market is going to crack because of the debt. Another stupid comment. And so this Margaret Brennan, she asked Bessent about that comment from Jamie Dimon, and he said, look, I know Jamie Dimon. He's been making those kind of predictions forever. They never come true. He's a good banker, but that's not going to happen. So I was impressed by that because these guys are in the same echelon. They're in the same realm. All right. You got Jamie Dimon, runs the biggest bank in the United States. Bessent is Treasury Secretary. They know each other. They're all going to get invited to the same parties, believe me. And for him to say, basically, Jamie Dimon doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, I thought that was pretty cool. And then she was pressing him on inflation. And he goes look, enough. Everything is so alarmist. And that's what I say to you guys all the time. Everything is put out there as a negative. Everything is twisted as a negative. If the market goes down, it's the end of the world. If the market goes up, it's a bubble. Everything is a negative. Everything is alarmist. And he said to this lady, Brennan, we got to stop being alarmists here. He's right. It's ridiculous, and it's always the media pushing this bullshit. He said inflation is coming down. He said, why don't we just wait and see what happens instead of automatically projecting these dire situations that we don't know if they're going to happen. And by the way, the opposite is actually happening. Why don't you report that? It's exactly what I've been saying for so long, and it's one of my criticisms against Powell, and I've made many videos on this. Like, why does he come out projecting these dire consequences? That's not his job. The job of the Fed is to react to conditions, okay, if necessary, in the capacity that it can and that it's able to do that. I mean, yeah, the Fed has, dozens, if not hundreds of economists there working there. They have their internal projections and whatever, but it shouldn't be that Powell comes out and says, oh, we better worry about inflation when, number one, we don't know, and number two, the data is actually going in the opposite direction. And that's exactly what Bessent came out and he said. And I appreciate that from this guy. He's like, let's pump the brakes on all this alarmist, Cassandra, the sky is falling talk. Enough of this already. And I thought he did a great job. He could have improved in some areas. Like I said, you don't say, well, we're on the warning track, we're not going to get to the wall. That was stupid. That was silly. I mean, you just basically, you shoot it down and you say, look, here's why we're never going to default. Period. End of story. Let's not even bring this up anymore. Okay? Because it can't happen. So I think Trump made a good pick with this guy. I don't agree with all of Trump's picks, but it was very close between him and Donkey Face. Donkey Face, who I'm talking about, is Lutnick. And I think Lutnick would have been terrible because as Commerce Secretary, I mean, all the guy does, is giggle. Most of the time he's giggling. He's like laughing and giggling, like everything's a little, freaking joke. And, he's just, I don't know. This guy Bessent, he's stable. He's unflappable. He doesn't get all, Bessent could get all kind of, with his high-pitched voice, his gravelly voice and stuff like that. No, I think this guy Bessent is kind of the projection of calm. And you know what? I got everything under control. Let's just pump the brakes on all this crazy talk. I got everything under control. So, and by the way, Bessent is talking about, well, he has been talking about it, and it's been one of my criticisms, but he's saying like, they're going to make those changes in the regulatory stuff having to do with the supplemental leverage ratio, which is, I've explained this so many times with reserve balances building up in the system and how that's destabilizing to the financial system. And they just have to change that rule. They have to change that regulation. And Bessent is going to do that. I think he's moving in that direction. He said that's going to happen. And if that happens, we can finally eliminate this, unnecessary volatility that we get in the markets every time we get these big reserve dumps. And by the way, as soon as Congress passes this budget bill, which has an increase in the debt ceiling, that instability is going to go away and we're going to get back to normal functioning of the market, which means that reserve additions are going to go back to being positive for the market, as opposed to now they're kind of destabilizing. I mean, I'm looking at futures right now. It's Sunday night. We're down. And, Friday we had the first of the month payments. I think tomorrow we get another portion of those first of the month payments. That'll dissipate, that instability, that selling will dissipate this week. And then June 15th, we got another quarterly tax drain. And, again, because everything's weird, everything's upside down now because of the debt ceiling. These tax drains, which are usually negative in a normal situation, but under the debt ceiling, these tax drains actually have been positive for the market because they help to drain out some of the reserves. So anyway, that's my little update for Sunday. And yeah, we're going to start the week. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to MMT Trader. See you tomorrow. Bye.